Okay, remember that they're changing my voice. Now, some of you might wonder why I have the image I have on the screen with a bunch of smaller images in the image. Well, this video is about the tree of knowledge versus the tree of life. The tree of knowledge is obviously wrong. You know them by their works. There's a reason why it's called the Board of Education, because it's boring. The B-O red, board. The Boa road, board. Right? The spelling, right? The wordplay. B-O-A-R-D is Boa. Second part of the word road, R-D. B-O-R-E-D is B-O, the reproductive cycle, red, the color of evil, the color of Set. Pretty straightforward. Now, when we look at the pictures like Pinky and the Brain, Slimer, the Bookworms, the Freemasons, the nerd picture I chose, what have you, you see the similarities. What the Freemasons would say are commonalities. They had certain groups like the Oddfellows, the Klan, who also came from Masonry, right? Nathan Bedford Forrest was a Mason, and he got a lot of his ritual ideas from Masonry, right? The Scottish Rite of Masonry, for example, and the signal fires that they got from the Scottish clans that inspired the Burning Cross and other things in the Ku Klux Klan, right? They have K words, and there's in the Klan, and there's Masonic wordplay. And William Joseph Simmons, who founded the second Klan, was in like 24 fraternities. And I've gone over this, probably maybe 20 times, 30, 40 times in my videos over the years. 40 different videos, 40 times, whatever. So you see, it's pretty straightforward, right? So I ask you again, if the top martial artist ever possible magically isn't the Son of God, then who is he? You think he's equal to people who are like Slimer, who haven't disciplined themselves to be great warriors, to be morally precise? I don't care how much you weigh or how goofy you look. If you look goofy, so what? If you cheat me out of my right to lead, I'm probably going to assume it's connected. That's how these things are. The reason why a cheetah can run fast is connected to its body structure, its way about it. The reason why fish can breathe underwater is connected to the way it has about it, its body structure. I'm going to make those connections, right? So when you're a bunch of people who are like Freemasons, whether you're Freemasons or not, right? Because, for example, in the police force, some of them are Freemasons, some of them aren't, unless I'm missing something. I suppose all of them could be, but, from my research, there's nothing that suggests that that's the case. So I'm going to assume that some of them are and some aren't. And you have, the California Peace Officers Association, for example. You have the Benevolent Society of Police Officers or something like this, and so on and so forth. So you have a bunch of groups that are similar, right? There's a reason why a construction worker is shaped similarly to a police officer and typical military person, and so on and so forth. That kind of commonality, that uniformity. Uniform and uniformity. And so when we look at their crafts and we see a spectrum of people who are like making fools of themselves, like, freaks and punk rockers and heavy metal people, and we see people trying to look more professional and act like they're superior, and we see that there's a certain design, there's a certain social engineering process going on. We see that when I put those things on the screen, it kind of covers everything. It covers the most professional looking person in a suit to the most goofy looking person in a suit. The commonalities, they're mere craftsmen, mere nerds, mere oppressors. As soon as you see my uniform compared to theirs, and keep in mind, I'm not from China, I'm not racist, I'm not Chinese, but I use that uniform as an example because you work with what you have. The reason why I wore it is because it allowed me to do my moves in a certain way and feel a certain way and come into a certain mind state of a martial artist in the absence of a Royal African Falcon martial art uniform. And I complained about that in several videos in the past, that they do not have a uniform for someone specifically like me because they don't want you to think of a black person as going beyond everyone else, including other races. They don't want you to think of that. They don't want you to truly appreciate the difference between Caesar and Pharaoh and the other leaders of the world. And Pharaoh in his pure form versus wearing makeup or something like some kind of sissy. But a martial art Pharaoh, like the original followers of the Falcon tribe followers of Horus, the original followers of Horus, warrior followers of Horus. So as I see how far they've gone to keep people down with a special emphasis on black people and a greater emphasis on me, and how they try to get people to play themselves out, and how they say crackhead while they zap my brain to reduce my cognition, to mess up my neurological processes, to mess up the cognitive processes in my brain, my cognitive processes. Now think about it. They're doing all these horrible things, taking shots at me left and right, haymakers, sneak dissing, sneak attacks, behind the scenes, having sex with females behind the scenes, telling them to shun me, having them prove their loyalty, doing stupid fertility sex cult rituals, everything from some kind of Masonic-like ritual to some kind of satanic ritual, or more overtly satanic ritual. Yeah, sex cults and sex clubs and sex workers and prostitutes and strippers and chicks sleeping with their boss and sororities sleeping with fraternities and on and on and on and on. And rock and roll orgies. They think it's smart to do those things. And so when we look at them, we see it in them. We see it in the uniforms they choose. For example, if you imagine someone who looked like Slimer wearing a martial art uniform, expecting you to think that he's the ideal martial artist, it wouldn't work. So they designed uniforms that where nerds and skinny bean poles and people who are overweight can pretend to be greater than the top martial artist ever possible, who, like a falcon, has a natural body structure to reflect his mind, body, soul, and spirit prowess. I am he, the top martial artist ever possible. And they have the nerve to treat me like a schmuck. They have the nerve to mock me and have gays harass me. You think I shouldn't point out the differences? You think I shouldn't put a lamp on its stand like the Bible says? You think I should pretend that these villains who quite often molest kids are magically ideal? And the people, including the people of their own races that they trample, are less than the biggest villains of all? Yes, no servant can be greater, but also no servant can be a greater evil. A more dramatically, a bigger disgrace. No servant can be greater or bigger in that sense. They can't be a bigger disgrace than their masters who get all dressed up and try to pretend they're superior to Christ while they do all these things I described earlier. My chicks, say some kind of slutty sex cult stuff, saying, and calling them daddy and whatever the fuck. When God is called the Father. They're calling them and the Spirit in them daddy. It's sick. I think I should be jealous of a dumb slut who chooses a piece of shit nerd motherfucker over the Son of God? Because of something as superficial as money, as when there are little girls all throughout American history who said it's stupid and shallow to put money first or to consider that all when dating. Little girls understood that. And you get these fair weather fucking sluts that don't. If a little girl has more sense than you when it comes to romance, you are not worthy of Christ, you stupid fucking bitch. What the fuck don't people get?